May I at this moment ask you to please be on your feet as we welcome the Vice Chancellor's procession into this auditorium. Distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you warm good morning greetings from the headquarters of the National Open Distance and National Open University of Nigeria, the base and, of course, the foundation of open and distance learning institution in Nigeria. Welcome to the 32nd inaugural lecture in the series of the National Open University of Nigeria, which today we are privileged to have with the theme, State Building Experiments in Nigeria's Multi-Ethnic Society, Policy Pillars for Achieving Preset Triple National Goals. That is a query that will be deconstructed and answer proffered in no distance time from now by no other but our inaugural lecturer, Professor Ali YUSUFU BAGAJI, who is a professor of public administration from the Faculty of Management Sciences of the National Open University of Nigeria. It is with great pleasure that I welcome you today, as I very expressly recognize some very crucial personality within us here at the high table. Here at the National Open University of Nigeria, we are ably led by Professor Olufemi Peters, who is the Vice Chancellor of the National Open University of Nigeria. Good morning, sir. You're welcome. And next to him, we have the Deputy Vice Chancellor in charge of academics, Professor Chedu Mafiana. We equally have the Deputy Vice Chancellor in charge of administration, Professor Isaac Bosworth. We equally have the Deputy Vice Chancellor in charge of technology, innovation, and research, Professor Godwin Akpe. The representative of the registrar, Dr. Akintola, is here. The bursar of the National Open University of Nigeria, Malam Marafa, Nasiru Marafa, is here. The librarian, Dr. Angela Opala, is here. The reason we are gathered this morning, Professor Ali YUSUFU BAGAJI, the 32nd inaugural lecturer, is also here with us. The Dean, Faculty of Management Sciences, where our inaugural lecturer is from, is also here with us. We equally have the university orator, Dr. Matthew Oguche, who is here with us. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, at this very moment, I'd like to invite our chief host and the man who is piloting the affairs of the National Open University of Nigeria, Professor Olufemi Peters, for his opening remarks. Sir.
Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen here, and very invited guests. I want to welcome you all to this 32nd inaugural lecture series of our great university, the National Open University of Nigeria. The Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic, the Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration, the Deputy Vice Chancellor Technology, Innovation and Research, the University Librarian, the University Bursar, and the representative of the registrar, my deans and directors who are present, the dean of the host today, the Dean of Management Sciences, Professor Momo, and the inaugural lecturer, our own Professor YUSUFU BAGAJI, It's on their behalf I welcome everyone once again, to this very important occasion. We know now that this is almost a custom in our university. For a time will come when the professor is called upon to give the efforts of his labor over the years, to try and invite the public to understand some of the issues that have bothered him since he became an academic staff in the Nigerian landscape, and how he's been able to maneuver his ways, running his ways through being an assistant lecturer in some cases, to reader, and then to professor. We usually don't envy them, because what it is they want to come and tell us the effect of what they've done over the past 30 years or so. Today, we are lucky to have one of us who have thought it wise. So I want to congratulate Professor YUSUFU BAGAJI for having the need to justify his long stay within the academic realms. And he has come to present to us a topic that is very interesting. And I would like to note and listen to what he has to say. The topic is state-building experiments in the Nigeria's multi-ethnic society, policy pillars for achieving precept triple national goals. I have read the book and I know what he meant as triple national goals, but I'm not going to divulge it so that I don't speak for the man himself. But it will be very interesting to note that his thesis borders around when you fall, you don't stay fall, you get up again. And I want to invite you to listen to this wonderful rendition of all his works. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor, sir. Without any further delay, I would like to invite the University Orator, Dr. Matthew Oguche, who will then proceed to invite the Inaugural Lecturer to stand for the citation.
I present the citation for Professor Ali S. YUSUFU BAGAJI, the 32nd Inaugural Lecture. Vice Chancellor, sir, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is with great honor that I present the citation of our 32nd Inaugural Lecturer, Professor Ali S. YUSUFU BAGAJI, a professor of public administration in the Department of Public Administration, Faculty of Management Sciences, National Open University of Nigeria. He was born into the royal family of late Chief Pa YUSUFU Joseph Okolo Onife Doga in the ancient village of Bagaji Odo, Omala local government area, Kogi State. He attended Roman Catholic Primary School, Bagaji Odo, between 1974 and 1979, after which he enrolled at Government Secondary School, Gumau, Bauchi State, where he obtained the Senior Secondary School Certificate, SSCE, in 1984. In search of higher school certification, he went to the Federal School of Arts and Science, Suleja, Niger State, where he earned the General Certificate of Education Advanced Level, GCE level, in 1986. Thereafter, he proceeded to the University of Maiduguri in 1986 to study Library and Information Science, but later converted to B.Sc Public Administration, in which he graduated with a second-class upper division in 1991. in pursuit of graduate studies, Professor Bagaji gained admission in 1996 to read Master of Public Administration, MPA, at the University of Abuja, graduating in 1999. He got another master's degree, M.Sc in Public Administration and Local Government, from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, UNN, in 2002. In order to give his academic career a global outlook, he proceeded to the University of Wales, Swansea, United Kingdom, where he got a Master of Philosophy, M.Phil in Politics, specializing in conflict resolution in 2007. In his further quest for specialized knowledge, he secured a scholarship from the Education Trust Fund, ETF, the predecessor of the Tertiary Education Fund, TED Fund, to the University of Exeter, United Kingdom, where he completed his doctorate degree in ethno-political studies in 2012. Along the line, he obtained a certificate in teaching skills from the University of Wales, Swansea, in 2004, and a certificate in learning and teaching in higher education from the University of Exeter in 2010. This additional teaching professional certification subsequently enriched his teaching skills. A widely respected public administration expert, his expertise encompasses a diverse range of subjects, including ethnopolitics, ethno-conflict, state building, and peace and conflict studies. Professor Bagaji was mobilized to Lagos for the one-year mandatory National Youth Service Corps, NYC 1991, and eventually deployed to the now-defunct Nigeria Bank for Commerce and Industry, NBCI, Victoria Island, Lagos, for his primary assignment. He began his academic career in 1993 as an assistant lecturer at the Kogi State Polytechnic, Lokoja. Shortly after, he transferred his services in 2000 to Kogi State University, now Prince Abubakar Audu University, Anyigba, where in recognition of his excellence, he was appointed by the university management as the pioneer head of the Department of Management, and later acting director of the Kogi State University Consultancy Services Unit. He later transferred his services to Federal University Gashua, Yobe State in 2015, where he was promoted reader slash associate professor in 2016 and subsequently reached the apex of his academic career as professor of public administration in 2019. While at Gashua, he served in various capacities, including the pioneer head, Department of Public Administration, Dean, Faculty of Management and Social Sciences, Dean, Student Affairs, and Director, Federal University Gashua Consultancy Limited. Professor Bagaji joined the services of the National Open University of Nigeria, NOUN, in September 2024. He served as the overseer of the Department of Public Administration and successfully conducted the November 2024 NUC accreditation, yielding full accreditation, which elicited a letter of appreciation by the university management. A consummate academic with an undeniable passion for research and academic mentoring, Professor Bagaji has supervised the completion 4 Ph.D. theses, 9 M.Sc theses, 5 PGDE dissertations, and numerous undergraduate projects. He has served as external examiner at Ph.D. Viva for 3 candidates and M.Sc Viva for 5 candidates. He has also served as assessor of 5 candidates for the rank of associate professor / reader and professor respectively in 5 Nigerian universities. A dynamic researcher, Professor Bagaji has published over 65 papers in reputable international and local journals, along with conference proceedings. His impactful work are 3 textbooks widely used in the public administration discipline in tertiary institutions in Nigeria, namely Bagaji AY 2003, Substance of Public Administration in Nigeria, published by the University of Ibadan Press PLC. Bagaji AY 2002, A Grammar of Local Government Administration, published in Abuja by Midtown Service Limited, and Bagaji AY 2003, Basics of Research Methods and Project Writing, a Multidisciplinary Approach, published in Makurdi by Aboki Publishers Limited. Professor Bagaji has attended and presented over 10 research-led papers at national and international academic conferences. In addition, he has attended and presented papers at over 30 international research training skills courses and workshops. Professor Bagaji's commitment to community service is evident by his membership of 3 professional bodies: the Nigerian Institute of Management, NIM 2003, Fellow of the Association of Public Administration Researchers, FASPAR 2023, an Association for the Study of Ethnicity and Nationalities, MASEN 2011. His consistent engagement by the National Universities Commission, NUC, in accreditation exercises has seen him serve in 12 accreditation panels to different specializations in the public administration and human resource management disciplines. He is also a recipient of 7 grants and awards, including the Young Scholars in Development Award by the Kogi State Local Government Service Commission and the Presidency at the Nigerian Institute for Economic Research, NISA, Ibadan, in 2004. Professor BAGAJI is happily married and, in his words, to the glory of God, to Honorable Justice Hawa Elojo YUSUFU, and they are blessed with 5 children. Vice Chancellor, sir, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is with immense pleasure that I now invite you to warmly welcome our inaugural lecturer for the 32nd inaugural lecture, Professor Ali S. YUSUFU BAGAJI, as he delivers his inaugural lecture titled State Building Experiments in Nigeria's Multi-Ethnic Society, Policy Pillars for Achieving Preset Triple National Goals. I now invite the Vice Chancellor to please invite the inaugural lecturer to the podium.
The Vice Chancellor, Professor Olufemi Peters, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academics, Professor Mafiana, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Administration, Professor Buswa, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Technology, Innovation, and Research, Professor Akbar, the Registrar, ably represented by his Deputy, Dr. Akintola, the Bossa, Mr. Nasir Marafa, the University Librarian, Dr. Angela Okpala, the Dean, School of Postgraduate Studies, the Dean, Faculty of Management Sciences, other Deans of faculties, Directors of Directorates, and Directors of Study Centers, Professor Emeritus and Professors, members of the University Senate, the head, Department of Public Administration, and other heads of departments of the university, staff and students of the university, friends of the university and special guests, members of my family, friends and colleagues, invited guests, gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. You are welcome to this presentation. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a close examination of the title of the research or of this lecture will reveal to an inquisitive person that it contains terminologies that are ordinarily found in the core sciences and engineering disciplines. 3 of such terminologies stand out, and they include building, experiment, and pillar. This may appear strange to some people, especially when it comes from someone whose background is public administration in the management sciences. My Vice Chancellor, sir, science and engineering terminologies that are used in the title of this work is not a coincidence, because the founding fathers of public administration, which includes Woodrow Wilson and Charles Bass, among others, have ab initio accepted and considered public administration to be dynamic and scientific. This opinion is specifically demonstrated in the periodization of the school of thought in public administration, which started from classical to the modern school of thought. But sirs, why are we surprised? Why are we surprised seeing science and engineering terminologies in public administration? As a discipline, it is considered with both the activities and management of government business. Similarly, Wilson and Charles Baird, who are the protagonists of public administration, have considered it scientific in nature. In order to justify their held views and positions, they provide several reasons to substantiate the scientific nature of public administration. One, they regarded public administration as a branch of political science. Politics itself has been grouped among the sciences, not natural sciences anyway. If it is accepted that politics is science and public administration is a branch of political science, then public administration is a science. In addition, one of the characteristics of science is that it is a body of acquired knowledge. In other words, science has principles derived from studies. This is also true of public administration. For instance, public administration enjoys the use of principles of management to reach conclusion. In short, public administration uses administrative processes to achieve objectives. Furthermore, science uses many methods such as observation, experimentation, and statement of hypotheses, among others. This also applies to public administration. The lesson we can learn from the above is that although there exist skeptical views expressed by a number of scholars, including Spinoza and Othaway, who belongs to the realist wings of criticism, the founding fathers of public administration strongly believe that its emerging subfield, state building, can be studied scientifically. Therefore, it must not look strange when we see a discipline that is adjudged to be science using science terminologies. This inaugural lecture is an opportunity to present my contribution to the frontiers of knowledge that is aimed at improving the quality of human coexistence among Nigeria's multi-ethnic societies. I'm grateful to the Vice Chancellor, Professor Olufemi Peters, for giving me the opportunity to present a research work in the academic subfield of public administration. Sir, I have been pregnant with these ideas from where I'm coming from, sir. But the opportunity never came before I left here. And I'm therefore very grateful for giving me this opportunity at a very short time. I'm just barely 7 months old here. Thank you very much for that. My Vice Chancellor, sir, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the presentation on state building experiments in Nigeria's multi-ethnic society, policy pillars for achieving preset triple national goals. Introduction. With a population of over 200 million people and with an estimated 250 ethnic groups, Nigeria is undoubtedly the most populated and diverse country in Africa. Thus, faced with these challenges and the desire to realize preset national goals, successive Nigerian governments, right from the British colonial era to the present, have at different periods experimented several state building experiments. This desire to simultaneously realize preset triple national goals and reflect plural composition within the framework of one united country have been at the front burners for successive governments in Nigeria. What we are saying here, for the sake of summary, is that the preset triple national goals is sacrosanct. How to recognize and accommodate ethnic diversity, how to ensure unity in diversity, and how to ensure institutional stability and unity have been there. Every government, right from the colonial government, have been into it. And what they do is that whenever they are doing a state building is being initiated, they try as much as possible not to tamper. But unfortunately, as we go along, we will get to know that as we achieve one of the objectives of the preset triple national goals, the other will be affected. Given the above background, the core aim of this lecture, therefore, is to explore the state building experiments that have been constitutionalized, enacted, or decreed for achieving the triple national goal. The essence of the exploration is to contextually determine whether state building experiments were robust enough to simultaneously realize the objectives of the national goals, and in addition, determine the roles the national goals and state building together play in isolation or in combination in the generation and recurrence of ethnic political conflicts in Nigeria. It is important to bear in mind from the outset that discussion on known state building experiments in Nigeria to date will be too numerous to be contained in this one lecture. So what I did was to make a selection within a period of 1969, let me put it for that way, to 1969/70. And for this introductory section, the lecture will be completed by a summary and then a conclusion. Before we go into the nitty-gritty of the lecture itself, there are some core terms which were used in the course of this lecture. The core terms are: one, state. There are several states and meaning of states, but for the purpose of this lecture, it is a term that means a cumulative territorial political association of some units that exist as one country and which exercise internal and external sovereignty. An example of a state in this definition is a country such as United States. Within the United States, there are so many states, but we are now looking at the state here holistically, Nigeria. Government. Government is a means or mechanism which the task and responsibility of achieving national goals and objectives are brought into operation. That is the definition of government there. State building, which is a common word here, refers to those governmental policies that are aimed at accumulation, consolidation, centralization of power, as well as the promotion of state identity. In principle, state building encompasses the objective of achieving societal cohesion, stability within the territory of a given state. National goals means those affirmative state philosophies and actions adopted by successive Nigerian governments introduced through negotiations that provides various Nigerians diverse groups with physical, social, and economic and political security. The examples of the national goals we have in this lecture is that one that recognizes and accommodates ethnic diversity, fostering unity in diversity, and ensuring political and institutional stability. Just like I said, these three goals are sacrificed. Whether it is in Tinubu government, it is Laloga's government, they are goals which every government intends to achieve. Background to modern state building in Nigeria. In this section of our lecture, what we are saying here is that we try to trace the existence of governments, in quote, governments, before and the advent of British colonial administration in modern day Nigeria. And for the sake of this lecture too, I adopted only three: the pre-colonial administration in the Hausa planning, the Yoruba, and the Igbo as a fellow society. The essence is to establish that during the pre-colonial period, there were identifiable forms of ethnic or sectorial administrative system, although very rudimentary, and that the high spots in the emergence of modern state building was manifested during the colonial, British colonial administration in Nigeria. And if one look at the views of Almond, which is anchored on structural functionalism, which effectively argue that whenever there are functions, there must be structures to perform them. So by way of summary, we're saying here that even in the pre-colonial administration, there were state building because there were structures that were performing functions. The emergence of modern state building experiments in Nigeria. The modern state building in Nigeria can be said to have its roots in British colonial administration. From 1900, the British took over the direct administration of the country, which was earlier given to the Royal Niger Company to administer on its behalf. The problem, however, to the British was how to maintain law and order and the problem of managing diversity. Just like I said, whether it was during the British colonial administration or the modern day government, the problem of the various governments has been how to manage diversity. And as such, from time to time, they enact, initiate, create establish state-building policies, but with the background that the preset triple national goals must be achieved. So what the British government did to achieve or to manage diversity was to a kind of create oath of allegiance. And also they introduced Solomon Seal, General Order. There was a legitimized bureaucracy, and then Governor General at the helm of affairs. To cap it all, they have a kind of a policing system, which they use West African Frontier Force. The essence of all of these things was to make sure that the allegiance is to the national government. And the national government's intention is to use all to achieve the aims of the national goal, which we already are aware. State building experience during the decolonization period. As we are aware, the British colonial government effectively took control of the country in 1914. And what they did was, they know that at the back of their mind, there will be agitation for self-government. So they now put in place a kind of some measures with which to hand over the government to the natives. So this period is what we're going to look at here now. The political system chosen during the decolonization process was of utmost importance, as it would define power relations and determine which ethnic group, remember, ethnic groups, will determine the political landscape. What I say here is that from the word go, the three major tribes in Nigeria, or ethnic groups in Nigeria, have been suspicious of each other. The leaders of the western, eastern, and northern regions each advocated for different political arrangements that respected regional diversities. The differing views of these regions were difficult to reconcile, and a compromise seems elusive unless all parties made significant concessions. It is for this reason the British government's commitment to securing an agreement that will maintain the unity of the country likely encouraged the AG, the NC, and the MPC to reach a compromise. These were the major political parties at the time during the decolonization period. As a result, among the various opposing proposals, the three major groups chose federalism, and it was the preferred choice over Unitarianism. State building experiments in the First Republic. The First Republic started from 1960 to 1966, thereabout. Within this period, Nigeria witnessed a lot of political crises. And sorry, among them was that on October 1, Nigeria gained political independence. The period from 1960 to 1966 is referred as the First Republic of Nigeria, although the country officially became a republic in 1963. Despite its brief, that is between 1960 and 66, the First Republic was marked by significant turmoil that hindered the country's state-building efforts. All the efforts at this period by the government of Balewa was to look at how they can handle crisis, which eventually led to a military takeover by Zogu in 1966. Shortly after the formation of the First Republic, the country experienced a series of political instabilities. Among them was the crisis of 1964, the 1965 leadership conflict between Awolowo and Ladoke Akitola. The conflicts are considered key factors in the collapse of the First Republic. During the 1962 crisis, concerns grew over potential for minority groups to be left vulnerable to the control of the major groups. As a result, the people of Warri Benin region requested a referendum to be separated from the Western region. For this reason, we have Midwest requested for a breakaway. However, what we have to note, for the sake of this lecture, is that the request by the Midwest for a breakaway from the major groups can be described as a slippery slope, in the sense that other groups, such as the thieves in the Middle Belt, started requesting for a breakaway from the northern region. The establishment of Midwest region in 1963, coupled with the fears of domination by large ethnic groups, created considerable confusion and political controversies among the NPC, NC, and AG. For example, in the northern region, the thief people led several uprisings against the NPC authority. In addition, movements such as Middle Belt Zone League and the Calabar-Ogoja Rivers movements were formed to demand for creation of their own states, seeking to escape the influence of the dominant ethnic groups. State building during the first military intervention. On 17th January 1966, a military coup d'etat led by Nzogu intervened in the Nigerian political scene. As a result of the series of crises witnessed between 1962 and 1966. However, the coup was countered by YUSUFU, who was the supreme commander of the Nigerian army at the time. In what may be considered as an attempt to consolidate his control over the power of the entire country, which is state building now, if you refer to the definition of state building, core of it started from this period. In what may be considered as attempt to consolidate his control over the entire country that was crumbling, he quickly embarked on state building measures by quelling the Western regional crisis, the minority agitation for self-determination in Tivland and the Middle Belt area, and in fact the Isaac Boro insurrection in the Niger Delta. In 1966, J.T.U. Aguiyi-Ironsi enacted Decree number 34. You will observe that from here, the collapse of true federalism started in Nigeria. What the Decree number 34 introduced were the abolition of the 4 regions and the creation of provinces, the transfer of legislative and executive powers to the federal government, centralization, state building. Public service was unified under a single service commission. From the turn of the decree, the federal structure of Nigeria's government was converted into a unitary state. State building experiments during the second military era, that is the Gowon era. The second military intervention in politics commenced from when Colonel Yakubu Gowon, the then colonel, assumed power in 1966, and that could depose J.T.U. Aguiyi-Ironsi. This was a very turbulent period for Nigeria, and the state building experiments at this time onward were mostly in tune with the definition of state building, but created tensions in the simultaneous realization of the triple national goals. Some of the state building experiments during this critical period were as follows. There was an enactment of Decree 8, which more or less was a replication of the Decree number 34 of J.T.U. Aguiyi-Ironsi. There was a creation of states for the minority, just like I told you earlier on. Soon that the people of the Middle Belt requested a referendum and were granted, and they were severed from the Western region. Several demands for states creation started, and Gowon implemented that in 1966. Creation of states for minority, Gowon announced creation of 12 states from the 4 existing regions. The Midwest region remained unchanged, while the other regions were divided. And then there was enactment of Petroleum Act of 1969. The problem in the Niger Delta today also started from this period because of this enactment of the Decree of Petroleum Act of 1969. The Petroleum Act of 1969, which granted the federal government full control and ownership of oil minerals and oil resources within the borders of Federal Republic of Nigeria. The primary objective of this state-driven initiative was to strengthen the central government's authority with the aim of fostering national unity. Summary. A deep analysis of the state building experiments mentioned above shows that Some of them were morally justifiable in the context where they were enacted. Some of them were justifiable. However, these measures were not substantial enough to guarantee meaningful political inclusion. And they were not accompanied by measures that will mitigate challenges related to ethnic group proliferation, political and institutional instability. Just like I said, the measures of the state building were to achieve the preset triple national goals. But as it is enacted or decreed or introduced, it will achieve only one of the national goals to the detriment of the other. Some state building experiments were morally defensible, even though they triggered tensions among different groups or were given strategic political interest. For example, the creation of states for the minorities in 1964, that is the Midwest region in 1964, and states in 1967, as well as the enactment of Decree 34 and 8, were controversial, yet seen as necessary. Remember, I'm saying here, yet seen as necessary in certain circumstances. Conversely, some measures like the political system arrangement from the 1950s were realistic at the time, but not morally justified. These arrangements suppressed minority groups in favor of the major dominant groups in the country. The analysis of the direction of the lecture indicates that the recognition and accommodation of diversity in Nigeria have generally promised more stability than the suppressed differences in favor of the major ethnic groups. It can be argued that limited unity observed in Nigeria today is a result of state building. However, these state building experiments have also led to recurring ethnic, political, and institutional issues that were not fully anticipated at the time they were initiated. The challenges here include institutional instability driven by constant demand for new states, leading to proliferation of states, local government, and geographical zones. This also sparked conflicts related to control of ownership of natural resources and a shift in the concept of citizenship. There was a shift in the concept of citizenship, now based largely on ethnic group, to the extent that in Nigeria today, if we are completing forms, we now say state of origin, local government of origin. This was not originally the case. Conclusion. Based on the discussion in this lecture, it is evident that Nigeria has potential to be a great nation, definitely. But it has been bogged down by ethnic, political, and institutional conflicts since it gained political independence. This problem stems from the contradictions between realizing the triple national goals and the various state buildings. Despite the tension, these goals and state building experiments in Nigeria highlights the necessity of continuing efforts that promote ethnic pluralism. State building in Nigeria's context is undoubtedly complex, and realizing the established national goals will require consistent commitment and sacrifices from all citizens, definitely. Nigeria stands to benefit from periodically reassessing the outcomes of its state building experiments, making necessary adjustments until negative side effects are reduced or completely eliminated. Therefore, all Nigerians, regardless of ethnicity, should prioritize the country first and foremost. As John F. Kennedy wisely said, geography has made us neighbors. History has made us friends. Economics has made us partners. Necessity has made us allies. Our take from the above citation is that Nigeria's strengths in geography, history, economics, and alliances are best realized when the nations grow together rather than apart. Thank you very much. Acknowledgement. This lecture is a result of collaborative efforts by numerous individuals and institutions whose moral, academic, and financial support made it achievable. However, when reflecting on the many people and institutions I should thank for their various forms of support, I realize it is an endless list and cannot be all contained here. First, I express my deepest gratitude to God for the gift of life, good health, knowledge. May His glorious name be praised forever. The Vice Chancellor, sir, I wish to acknowledge your desire to make NOUN best university in the world. The Lord will strengthen you to achieve this dream. The Lord God who fished you out to be the Vice Chancellor of this great university will not let you down. As you and your management team make available the enabling environment and also put smiles on the cheeks of everyone in NOUN at targeted days in the year, the Lord will reward you abundantly. Next, I want to appreciate the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academics. I want to specifically thank you for your support and quick responses to my distress SMS text. During the NUC accreditation, I disturbed it too much. Honestly, everything at the last minute was just crumbling. And midnight, 2 a.m., wherever time, he will respond to my call. I saw the accreditation exercise as a challenge. And he gave me the necessary support to achieve that. Thank you, sir. I also want to appreciate the principal officers of the university, the DVC admin, the DVC technology innovation, the registrar, the university librarian, the bursar, the ship that you are assisting to head as a ship, as a shepherd, will always be on course to its rightful destination. The good Lord will reward you abundantly. To the deans, directors, professors, and head of departments, thank you all for your efforts in promoting and implementing the philosophy, mission, and vision of NOUN everywhere you go. Thank you for gracing this occasion. I specifically acknowledge the presence of the Dean, Faculty of Management Sciences, Professor Musa Momo, and the staff of the most populous, the most viable, and the most successful faculty. Is it not true? It is. I want to say a big thank you for accepting me to your big family and for encouraging me for the outpouring of love preparatory to this event. I want to specifically thank Professor Willie Guanyi, the immediate past dean of the faculty, for accepting me to the family, FMS family. Similarly, my standing before this great August guest today is attributable to his processing of my declaration of interest to present this inaugural lecture. I can remember the day you sent me a text to resend my paper, and which you did, leading to the present presentation. I can see why God is blessing you right, left, and center. Thank you very much for doing that. I also see this opportunity to express my gratitude to both academic and non-teachers of the Department of Public Administration. I hardly settled down on transfer of service to NOUN when I was called upon to oversee the affairs of the department, at which time the department was being prepared for the NUC accreditation. I want to say a big thank you to all the staff whose names are listed in the acknowledgement. All the staff, both academic and non-academic staff of the department. May God continue to be with you. To the heads of tertiary institutions, where I have worked as a full-time staff or as a material a couple of years back, I acknowledge Professor Joseph Itamada, the then rector of Kogi State Polytechnic, for encouraging me to join the university system. I think it's here. There was one day I entered the office and I told you that I want to go to the newly established university at Aruba. Then I think I was more or less working as your PA, more or less. And you didn't want to release me, so I had to send my father-in-law to you that, and my father-in-law told you that if this boy is allowed to go to the university system, you are the one. If he's not allowed, you are the one that caused it. I don't know whether you remember it. Thank you very much, sir. I acknowledge Professor Simon Komokute, the pioneer Vice Chancellor of Kogi State University, for appointing me acting Director of Consulting Services Unit, and for processing my ETF scholarship to University of Wales, Swansea, where my academic career journey into conflict and political studies began. I thank you for including me in the academic subdiscipline for which I have reached my pinnacle today. I acknowledge Professor Abdurrahman, the first Vice Chancellor, Federal Investigation, for encouraging me to join federal service. You processed my promotion to the position of reader. My little association with you convinced me that You are an apostle of the will of God, as against the will of man. Thank you, sir, for all you have done at this show, and for me in particular. I acknowledge with thanks the second Vice Chancellor of Federal Investigation, Professor Andrew Haruna. During your tenure, you announced my promotion to reader, and you processed and completed my promotion to the position of professor. And during your time too, I had the experience of serving as head of the Department of Public Administration, the Dean of Faculty of Management Sciences, the Dean of Student Affairs, and if many people are like you, there will never be bloodshed. That is Professor Andrew Haruna, the current Secretary, Council of Districts, or something like that. Furthermore, Professor Memuna, who was my senior at FUGA, and later appointed as Vice Chancellor, thank you for the working relationship, for approving my sabbatical to Modibo Adama University, as well as appointing me as the Director of Consultancy Services Unit. Thank you for the roles you played in my academic career experiences. It was wonderful working with you. I acknowledge the former Vice Chancellor, Modibo Adama University, Professor Abdullahi Liman Tukur, for accepting my sabbatical application. At the time, many universities could not afford to do so due to the fear of the IBPIS. May God reward you abundantly. The Vice Chancellor, sir, all the above-mentioned institutions, heads of institutions, worked with shrewd administrators that made them successful during their term of office, and which affected me positively. I mentioned Felix Edoka, who was in Kogipoli as Deputy Registrar. I will mention A.B. Shehu, who was in Federal Investigation. I will mention Alajidu, who was at Kogi State University. I will mention Dr. Abubakar Mahmuda, who is currently Registrar for this Federal Investigation. Thank you all for the roles you play in my life. My doctoral research at the University of Exeter, United Kingdom, and all other ones in Nigeria, and the role TED Fund played in my life. I thank you all for your roles. I'm deeply grateful for the guidance and encouragement provided by supervisors throughout the stages of my postgraduate studies, so many of them that I cannot list here. I'm grateful and indebted to my late parents, father, Chief YUSUFU Okolo. Specifically, it's a long story which I cannot say here, but which is already documented. I also thank my mother for the roles she played. Too long for me to explain here. I wish to express my gratitude to my siblings and extended family, which I think I can cite my most senior sister here. Even though I was the number 17 of the 36 children, from 9 mothers, after many years into adulthood, I soon realized that I was a problem child for those ahead of me and those behind me. Thank you for coping with my exuberant behaviors. May God repose the soul of those of us that are already late and continue to bless the rest of us that are alive. To the memory of my late immediate elder brother, may God continue to rest your soul. I'm grateful to the love and care of my wife, who is seated here. Can you raise up your hand so that I know you? So many things I cannot say. She's my editor, she's my financier, she's my everything. How we became husband and wife, we never know. Because I cannot recall whether she said yes to me. Thank you very much. To my children, 5 of them, Precious, Fortune, are you here? Joshua, are you here? That is the last one that came. I don't know how she came. Okay, praise and hope. May God give us the grace to enjoy the fruit of this labor. To the memories of my late uncle, Mr. Peter Malada, may God rest your soul and the family. They are my pillars. To the memories of my father and mother, foster father and mother, late Mr. Jeremiah Ogunlaye and Elizabeth Ikani Ogunlaye ni Ayek. It was through them my foundation in secondary school started. I'm a bit emotional. May their souls rest in peace. To the descendants of BAGAJI, anybody from BAGAJI here? Oh, okay. That's my lovely village there, which I've adopted as one of my names. It is difficult to mention all of you. It is my pleasure to belong and know you all. And may the good Lord continue to bring peace to our community. To my friends from Geshwa, anybody from Geshwa here? Okay, you're welcome. Professor Faramsi, you're also Geshwa. May God bless all of you. Specifically, Dr. Abacha, Dr. Odo, Professor Faramsi, and others like Professor Mike Abiodun of Babcock University and Professor Bamswell of Madasu of Federal University. May God bless all of you. I want to register my profound gratitude to the staff of the DVC Academic Office, Neoma, Wallace, and one other. May God bless you. I want to recognize the presence of honorable member of the House of Rep, Ibrahim Sani, who has come to grace, a good friend, who has come to grace my occasion. I also recognize his cousin, through whom I got to know Ibrahim, Siaka Raji. May God bless you for taking your time to grace this occasion. To the entire Fuga community, NOUN community, physically present and online, may God bless you for coming. I express my gratitude to the esteemed audience present today and all those who have supported me and offered me well wishes in their various ways. Too many to list. To God be the glory. My Vice Chancellor, sir, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in addition to ongoing events, I'm also in the celebration mood of my 59th birthday, which took place on 3rd April. It is a double celebration for me, and it is amazing. I thank you all for listening.
May I now invite the Vice Chancellor for the official presentation of the 32nd Inaugural Lecture by the lecturer.
Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, I hereby present my inaugural lecture.
Thank you very much. Please sit down. Sit down. Yes, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and now I can now mention that the family of Prof and friends that are here, we didn't know you before until he introduced you to us. And we all have heard the journey that Prof has gone through, our inaugural lecture of today. And his work basically had been to seek, and he had used the word experiment, but I was going to accuse him he was using the experiment where I am supposed to be the master of experiments. But he has justified it very well by saying that experiments are not necessarily going to be a conclusive one. Indeed, he said that many experiments were tried right from the time before we became a nation to when we are what we are now. And his conclusion is that it is still work in progress. I want to advise all here to find time to read this wonderful book because it contains some pertinent history of our country. I want to congratulate him again for the time he took to prepare this document and for the juicy ones that he has offered us to do. And therefore, it's my pleasure to close the ceremony and invite the Deputy Vice Chancellor to come and give a vote of thanks. All right, I've just been told that the Dean of Management Sciences wishes to present a present or a souvenir to one of their own. Fantastic. This is funny.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chancellor. It is my singular honor on behalf of Faculty of Management Sciences to present to you this as a congratulatory message for your wonderful presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. May I ask the Deputy Vice Chancellor to come and give vote of thanks?
I have the permission of the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic, Professor Felix Chedu, my Fiona, to thank you all on behalf of the Vice Chancellor. Ladies and gentlemen, in a time like this, when it is very difficult for leaders to faithfully drive the vision of their institutions, organizations, we thank God that in a difficult period as we are in, He has given us this young man, a man with a lot of vision, a man that drives his vision, a man that never gets deterred, a man that never looks behind but only forward, a caring person, a person that when it is difficult, that's where he performs the best. And the Vice Chancellor does not know this person, but I'm here and I have the permission of Professor Chedu Mafiana to announce to him that we have this person, and the young man is Professor Olufemi A. Peters, the Vice Chancellor of our university. The Vice Chancellor, sir, we thank you very much for sponsoring this event. We thank you for breeding the crop of professors who are shining globally and who are making you and the university and Nigeria very proud. We thank you for chairing this event. We also appreciate the family that has given us another young man who has learned a lot, who studied a lot, who have been to places, and who has ever been able to contribute to knowledge, building communities, developing Nigeria, and wish that we are the best nation in the whole world. We thank you very much for giving us this young man. To the lady among ladies who is able to bear all the blunt, to bear all the night out that this young man took to be able to produce this document, and also to follow the path, the difficult path that led to today's event, that he is now officially pronounced professor by our Vice Chancellor. You are lucky. It could have been another Vice Chancellor. So you see, you're lucky to have a visionary leader chair your inaugural lecture. To the Dean, Faculty of Management Sciences, we thank you for giving us this man. To the members of Senate, this event we don't have heard if you failed to attend the event. Not only did you approve the event, you are also here to witness it and to support one of your own. Deans, heads of department, professors, directors of academic units, we thank you for coming. To the congregation of the university, they can make you not become a professor, but simply making sure that your publications are missing. That you didn't do this, and we have this young man here pronounced as a professor. We thank you very much, and we thank you for supporting us all the way. To the students and staff of this university, we thank you for making us proud and for never letting us down. For invited guests and gentlemen of the press, we thank you for your work. We thank the press for covering the event. And to my colleagues, principal officers, the Vice Chancellor is saying thank you to all of us. Thank you all, and may God bless you.
Thank you very much, Professor Godwin Akbe, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Technology, Innovation and Research of the university. Well, I felt we should put a little bit of clarity because we have some members of the public who are joining us here. When the DVC said members of the Senate, it's not saying the other Senate, you know, is the University Senate. Maybe we should just put that clarity. On that note, we've come to the end of proceedings here, marking the 32nd of the inaugural lecture in the series here at the National Open University of Nigeria.